Pokemon Stadium 2 is one of the coolest Pokemon games of all time. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a boomer who literally grew up with it and still owns an N64 and 2 transfer packs. And I've collected every single Pokemon game on physical hardware. No, I'm saying that because it serves as the end game for the entirety of Generation 2. And in a way, the end game for the Game Boy era of games. It's got multiple battling challenges with varying rule sets, just like the Battle Frontier. It's got a storage system, just like in Pokemon Box. It's got the most intense battling tutorial in Pokemon history. It's got a complete data bank of movesets and egg moves, which has literally never been done again, ever, in any Pokemon game. But I just discovered a neat little feature that has never been fully documented anywhere on the internet or otherwise. I'm talking about Cerebi.net. I'm talking about GameFAQs. I'm even talking about my favorite website of all time, the place that I spend most of my days, Bulbapedia. So stay tuned, stick with me, because we're going to be talking about minigames. Okay, so Stadium 2 has a little side mode for minigames that you can play with up to 4 players. It's a fun little diversion. It adds to the charm of the games. It's something that has never really come back in any capacity. You get to use your own actual Pokemon in the minigames, which I think is the coolest part of it all. Let's do a rundown of all 12 minigames and the Pokemon that are in them, but pay attention to what specific species are available to play with, because there's an interesting little coincidence if you look close enough. Gutsy Golbat. Playable Pokemon, Golbat, not Crobat. You will see people online say that you can play as Crobat. You cannot play as Crobat. Fly around to collect the most hearts while avoiding other players and Magnemite. Topsy-Turvy. Playable Pokemon, Hitmontop. Be the first to knock other players out of the ring 5 times. Clear Cut Challenge. Playable Pokemon, Scyther, Pinsir, and exclusively with a transfer pack, Scizor. Cut 5 logs as close as you can to the white line. Player with the most points wins. Furret's Frolic. Playable Pokemon, Furret, and exclusively with a transfer pack, Girafarig for some reason. Bump Pokeballs into your goal to score the most points. Barrier Ball. Playable Pokemon, Mr. Mime. Bounce Pokeballs into opponents' goals. First to 5 points or most points when the timer ends wins. Pichu's Power Plant. Playable Pokemon, Pichu, and exclusively with a transfer pack, and it also has to be from Pokemon Yellow, so it basically has to be your starter, Pikachu. Wow. Mash the correct button for each electrode that pops out in one of 4 directions. Be the first to fill your energy bar to win. Rampage Rollout. Playable Pokemon, Donphan. Race around a track and be the first to complete 9 laps while pooping out dust clouds on other players. Like, what is he doing? What move is that? Why is that coming out of his Streaming Stampede? Playable Pokemon, Cleffa and Igglybuff. Count the number of Pokemon that pass on screen. Whoever has the most points after 5 rounds wins. Tumbling Togepi, the cutest minigame of them all. Playable Pokemon, Togepi, and exclusively with a transfer pack, Omanite. Race on treadmills while avoiding obstacles and hitting speed boosts. Be the first to reach the finish line. Delibird's Delivery. Playable Pokemon, Delibird. Pick up presents and deliver them to the top of the screen while avoiding Swinub. Earn extra points for combos of the same present. Can you imagine if Iron Bundle was playable in this? Like how good a robotic Delibird would be at delivering presents? Anyway. Egg Emergency. Playable Pokemon, Chansey, and only Chansey, not Blissey. Okay, we got a Crobat situation with this one. I thought that you could play as Blissey when you were a kid. You cannot play as Blissey. The best minigame, in my opinion, catch eggs as they fall while avoiding Voltorb. Catch the most eggs out of 100 to win. And finally, Eager Eevee. Playable Pokemon, Eevee. It's like musical chairs. You gotta be the first to react when the music stops and the lid is lifted to grab the fruit. Highest score after 5 rounds wins. All right, so these minigames are pretty good. I think they would all belong in a Mario Party. And I've played every single Mario Party. And I can tell you, this batch of minigames is better than like half of the Mario Party minigames ever. And there's over 1,000 of them at this point. So you'll have a good time with these. But there's a little more to it than that. You see, playing these minigames can actually help you in your cartridge game, your actual Pokemon adventure. So there's two different ways to play minigames in Stadium 2. There's a free play mode where you can just pick any minigame you want and play it as much as you want, no stakes, just for funsies. And then there's the try hard mode, the minigame champion mode, where you compete with your opponents to win a certain number of coins. And these are not just any coins, mind you, because the game states in the description, see what happens if you leave your Pokemon Game Boy game pack inserted in the transfer pack. See what happens?
You see what happens, Larry? You see what happens when you
leave your Pokemon Game Boy game pack inserted in the transfer pack.
What happens?
So we already know what happens, actually. If you win Minigame Champion, you actually get to keep the coins you won. They go into your coin case in your Game Boy save file. Isn't that cool? That's so neat. And then you do the math, and you realize that this is the most inefficient way to grind coins ever, because the game estimates that even the shortest session of 5 coins will take about 10 minutes. Think about that. And let's say you're actually really good at the minigames like I am, and you can beat the computers in half of that time or less. That's still going to take you about 166 hours to max out your coin case. However, I suspected that there was more to this mode than met the eye. So what I wanted to do is test if anything happened to the Pokemon that you were using in the minigames. I had a suspicion about that. So I had some eligible Pokemon sitting in my PC boxes. I went ahead and backed up a copy of my Pokemon Crystal save onto my PC so that I could read it for changes before and after playing the minigame mode. Then I went into the minigame champion and I beat up on some computers. I became the champ, no problem, while making sure at least one of my Pokemon participated in a minigame. And when I did that, this is what I found. Oh, my Pokemon are delighted. See, that's interesting because the guy doesn't always say that your Pokemon are delighted. Usually, if you're using a transfer pack, he's just going to say, hey, you won coins for the game corner. Congratulations. So, I looked at the save file before and after, and this is what happened. Minigames increase friendship. You guys, this is not documented anywhere. Any official sources or any wikis, nothing like that. I could not find anything about it. The only thing I could find was a thread of someone asking about this 15 years ago on GameFAQs. And I would like to give credit to the user Brainwave on PokeCommunity.com, who was able to confirm for themselves that this was the case, that minigames do actually increase your friendship. But I have to be honest, I had a very strong suspicion before I even looked into any of this that this was going to be the case. Why? Well, do you remember when I said there was an interesting coincidence about the Pokemon that are available to play in the minigames? You ever think it's weird that there's no starters that you can play with, no legendaries, very few like big box office names, if you will. Charizard's not playable. Pikachu you can play as, but you have to have the transfer pack. No. The thing is, every single friendship evolution is in a minigame. Golbat into Crobat, the friendship evolving babies, Eevee into the 2 greatest evolutions, and the bane of special attackers everywhere that for some reason got an unnecessary evolution that made it even more of an abomination. That's right. Yep, they're all here, but I don't want to stop here. I want to figure out exactly how this mechanic works. How much friendship can you win from minigames? what kind of parameters do you need to meet? What is necessary? What is required in order to trigger this? Because I know for sure this doesn't always happen. Otherwise, someone else would have realized by now what was going on. So I got to work, I went back into minigame champion mode, and I made sure one of my minigames came up, I won that minigame, I won the champion mode, and no friendship dialogue. My Pokemon are not delighted, according to the host. Okay, so maybe I did something wrong. So I tried again. I won again. I didn't get the minigame friendship again. I tried again. I won again. No friendship. Again. I literally failed like 15 times in a row, wasting my evening, working into the night. I was freaking out. Like, did I do something wrong? Is this glitched? Did I just figure out that there's an error with this mechanic, just like the mystery gift function in Pokemon Stadium 2, because that's also a thing. Which, by the way, if you haven't yet, definitely check out Sir Toasty Toes. He made a video about it on YouTube, going into how mystery gift was supposed to give you exclusive furniture in Stadium 2, and it just does not work. It can't ever give you those furniture items. So I thought I was hot on the trail of another massive glitch. Like, oh, here's something else that just doesn't work in the game as intended, right? Well, it turns out that I am just lazy. I'm just lazy. That's why I wasn't getting the minigame friendship. Let me get the basic requirements out of the way. First, only the player that wins minigame champion can gain friendship. That winner must be playing with gold, silver, or crystal in their transfer pack. They must win a minigame using at least one of the Pokemon in their save file. More than one Pokemon can gain friendship per championship, but they can only gain one friendship point per championship, regardless of how many times it won a minigame. And you might be wondering, what happens if you have multiple Pokemon that are eligible for the minigame, right? What if you have a Scyther and a Pinsir? Or you have a box full of nothing but Togepi? Which one is the chosen one?
I have been chosen.
Well, it seems the game prioritizes your party Pokemon from slots 1 through 6, and then that is followed by the box order, starting from box 1 through box 20. And if you want to use a different Pokemon, you actually have to go into your save file or the box storage system and move them around. And if they're in the daycare, it will not be available for the minigame. It'll never pick something that's in the daycare. My guess is that the daycare Pokemon are just too busy making eggs to bother playing a minigame. The thing is, you can change the required number of coins to win, anywhere between 5 and 9 coins. And the first time I played and got the friendship, I played with the default, which is 7 coins. And then when I confirmed that, yes, I can win friendship through this, I went ahead and changed it back down to only 5 coins because, hey, let's make sure we can get through this as quickly as possible. And after many failed attempts and workarounds, which included nicknaming my Pokemon, leveling my Pokemon up, deleting my entire Stadium 2 save file, none of that worked. Fortunately, Random Dice 101, a user on the Project Pokemon Discord, was also trying this out at my request. And he said that he never had an issue winning the minigame friendship because he always played on easy mode with 7 coins to win. And that is when it hit me. I'm not sure how long it would have taken me to figure this out otherwise. So I really want to thank Random Dice 101. I may have given up on this entirely if it weren't for you also testing this out at my request. So thank you. Anyway, there is one very important caveat that can also prevent the minigame friendship from occurring. Even though you did everything correctly, you won the minigame as your buddy, you played at least 7 coins to win, and you did everything as you should have. And it actually has to do with the Game Boy games. So I had a hunch that When Stadium 2 sent the message to your Game Boy save to say, hey, increase this friendship on this Pokemon, that it was just borrowing from the existing list of friendship triggers that were in the Game Boy games, which would make sense, right? So I'd already established that you could only get one friendship point per minigame championship, regardless of how many times you win a minigame in that round. And the friendship in these games is stored as a value between 0 and 255. After further testing, I can confirm the minigame friendship is the same trigger that occurs when you use a battle item like X Speed or a TM on one of your Pokemon in Gold, Silver, and Crystal. Those actions will give you one friendship point per use until you have 200 friendship. At that point, that specific action can never, well, not never, it can't give you any more friendship above 200. And minigames work the exact same way. So if you've played through the entirety of Gold, Silver, or Crystal, and you acquired Pokemon Stadium 2 after the fact, and then you start playing the minigames with the Pokemon that you've raised yourself and loved and all that, guess what? They probably already love you too much to even benefit from playing in the minigames. Unfortunately, due to all these limitations, this is not a very efficient way to grind for friendship. Not particularly useful, especially since you already have access to Stadium 2, and you could just walk indefinitely, repeatedly, at ×4 speed in the Dodrio Game Boy Tower and gain friendships so much faster that way than it would be to actually play minigames and have fun. As usual, the best solution to a problem in Pokemon is not the funnest. But this was all done through trial and error on my behalf. So if anyone out there wants to try this out, maybe I made a mistake or something gets discovered in the future, definitely let me know in the comments down below. This was all done as part of a challenge for myself to Nuzlocke 100% of every Pokemon generation, which means I'm also battling the post-game challenges as well, like Pokemon Stadium 2 and its Gym Leader Castle, which is currently beating my derriere. Trying really hard not to swear here. No one's ever really Nuzlocked a post-game challenge or like a battle facility before. It's been very fun though. So I definitely plan on putting more videos out about my journey as I continue to try and play through every bit of content of Pokemon that I skipped out on or missed when I was a kid. So if that interests you or it sounds crazy enough for you to be curious, definitely hit me with a subscription down below here on YouTube. Check me out on Twitch as well. I stream these episodes, if you will, twice a week over there at twitch.tv/lsteeler. So I'd love to see you there. Hang out with me. I let the chat nickname every single Pokemon I capture in the Nuzlocke and put it to a vote. You get to predict what Pokemon encounter I get, and it's a lot of fun. Anyway, I've also got other videos too. Right now I've got this one where during Pokemon Stadium 2, I got so unlucky that I actually could not hit through a traction for 12 turns in a row. You have to attack now. What the f? And that's actually shiny odds. And I could not believe how unlucky I got. So if you want to see that, there's a video somewhere here. I've done a lot of research on this Nuzlocke quest, so I've discovered a lot more information that I think is pretty neat. Kind of like this one, except not as groundbreaking. So yeah, tune in, stay tuned in for more mildly interesting Pokemon stuff. I'm Steeler, and I'll see y'all on the next video.